Welcome to the Accu-Trade Vindo podcast. In this episode, Bob shares some acquisition strategies for dealers and discusses the idea that customers today are shopping for convenience, not price.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this week's Vindo with Robert Hollinshead. And Bob, we're going to do a short one, I believe, this week. So let's get at it and get everyone back to business.
So, obviously we're in the middle of the craziest market that ever existed, including last year, in the middle of the craziest market, right? And I'm listening to people constantly, like all day, every day, whining and complaining about this, that, the other thing, right? The prices of cars, they're so crazy. And really, the easiest way to look at it is to actually think about it just like any other commodity, right? So, when I was in the Marine Corps, I used to commute back and forth from North Carolina and different places, right? Gas was 29 cents a gallon. I wish the Christ gas was 29 cents a gallon. It's $3.85 if you're getting premium, right? Cars. So we're looking at the MSRP. We're selling a RAV4 the other day on Wednesday, and MSRP when the car was new in 2018 was, 24.7 or something. We're selling it for 32.8. And I guess it's relevant to understand the insanity of that. But then again, it has nothing to do with it. If you're going to do business,
if I'm not mistaken, you got to have inventory. And if, we got a lot of guys that are talking about, well, I'm not going to pay those prices. Well, you're not going to drive your car. If you ain't putting gas in it, how in the world are you going to drive it? We're going to have to, obviously you want to be aware of what's going on around you and not get completely nuts. But if you're going to do business, you got to have merch. If you got to have merch, you're going to have to pay the market value. And I think outside of that, it's all like a brain fart. It doesn't look like anytime in the near future, and you could call the near future a month or 2 months or 3 months or 6 months, there's going to be any cars unless you pay for what they're bringing. It's like any other commodity. If there's a scarcity, the price goes up. And, my feeling is dealers would need to get beyond the idea that, well, I just as soon not have any cars. Well, that's a good idea, but that means that you're not going to be in business. Maybe some guys can run their business based on service and, washing cars and doing a body shop thing or something, but I don't know that that's really viable. I think you're going to have inventory. So then the question becomes, where are you going to find the inventory? And what I'm telling all of our people that are out there scouting inventory, if I'm not mistaken, you have, just like when you were a kid looking for salamanders, flipping rocks, right? In other words, you never find a salamander just laying out on top of a rock somewhere. Do you, Sean? You're up there in salamander country, aren't you? Do you ever see a salamander just laying around waiting for a kid to grab him, put him on a hook to be bait to go catch a trout somewhere? I don't think so, right? And therefore, inventory is kind of the same thing, man. If you're really concerned about not having cars, you got to do the same thing you did when you were a kid. Go to the shore creek and start flipping rocks looking for salamanders. And sometimes you'll find more and sometimes you won't. Therefore, you found a new hole to catch them. You know what I mean? And to be perfectly honest with you, in our individual case, we got guys saying, Jesus Christ, we paid you all the money. Yeah, you paid us all the money. How'd you do with the car? And almost without fail, and actually they don't have to tell us because obviously our software, Accu-Trade, will show you how much they asked for it, how long they had it, if it was sold or not. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I frequently spend my time doing exactly that, not just with local dealers, but with Carvana and CarMax and everybody else. When we're selling them cars, they paid way more than the car should be worth if you're a historian. But if you ain't a historian, and you're dealing in the market that we're in, them cars are disappearing. I was just doing it this morning with another dealer that was talking about, well, no, Carvana's doing this, and I said, yeah, they are, and what they're doing is business. Whether you like it or not, it doesn't really make any difference. Whether you agree with it or not really means absolutely nothing. They're putting along just fine. and I look at a car, I sell them for 16G, and it's on their website 7 days later for $21,300. Now, if you look at competitive set, the competitive set shows that the similar car, of course, they didn't buy it from me, which makes it worth $4,000 or $5,000 more, but a similar car, is $19,900 asking price. The fact of the matter is that you can ask that price, and you're probably going to sell it, but you're not going to replace it in a way that this is what in my opinion, I have all the respect in the world for Carvana, because they pay what they need to pay. They market excellently. Google words are way up at the top no matter what. It's one of the conversations we were having with an individual today about how they're getting ahead of them in the Google search. Well, it's pretty simple. All of their cars are listed from Kansas City or from, depending on where the car was sourced from. So in your local search, it doesn't show up. And therefore, when they wind up understanding Google words better than you do, they are at the top of the search. The fact is really simple. Just like me buying shoes that I never would dream of buying shoes online because it keeps popping up when I'm doing my thing. It's just, nice pair of shoes, buy a pair of shoes. I would never dream of buying a pair of shoes for $340 from somebody I'd never been able to try it on. But I'm doing it on a daily basis. Why is that? Because they show up the next day. That's why. So I ain't shopping for price. I'm shopping for the convenience to know it's coming. Right? Who in the world would buy that for a pair of loafers? I do. That's who. And that's exactly what's happening with cars. If you ain't got them, you ain't going to sell them. It's very simple. And if you are going to sell them, you don't have to be in a panic attack of being worried about what your neighbor is stupid enough to sell the car for. I can't tell you how many thousands of cars in the last few months we've bought from dealers over their asking retail price that bring a G, 2G, 3G more on the auction block. It doesn't happen once in a while like, oh my God, let me go back and take pictures of that. I can't believe it happened. No, it happens on a regular basis. Now you can pontificate the intelligence of that, or you can actually watch that cat sell that car to somebody. It doesn't make any sense. It's not rational, that's for sure. But paying $3.75 for a gallon of premium gas isn't rational neither, because it used to be 29 cents. It's got nothing to do with the world that you're living in. You can't breathe yesterday's air, brother. You see what I'm saying to you, Sean? And from my perspective, and again, I'm nobody to pontificate to dealers what they should and shouldn't be doing. I'm making an observation is what I'm doing. I'm making an observation that, on one hand, it's very obvious. If you ain't got something, it's no matter what you ask, you can't sell it, right? And on the other hand, only from practical experience, watching people, dealers all over the country, out of the country, different places. We'll have 2,000 people logged into our lanes tomorrow while we sell our wares. And they're from everywhere. It's from everywhere. It don't matter where, it's from everywhere. And we're going to sell every single one of them to somebody that is going to say, Jesus Christ, I paid too much. And I'm telling you, when we go back and search through who we sold it to, Accu-Trade, just put the VIN number in. It'll show you, what they're asking, how long it's been in stock. I'm flabbergasted that if it's there 15 days, it's a miracle. Time after time after time after time after time. And they paid too much. But did they pay too much? How much is too much? Too much is when you bought it, you can't sell it, you can't make a profit, you're going to lose money. The other side of this, if you happen not to be able to sell it for whatever reason, the truth of the matter is it ain't worth less. It's not like a normal market where you pay too much for something and you hold it for 60 days and now you got to hold your ass with what's coming, like a good beating. It's not happening. If anything, we see that on a regular basis. We buy all our cars for cash. We pay up front. So we have, like a huge amount of cars that have been paid for a month or 2 months ahead of us getting the title. It's one of the reasons why dealers sell us cars. Not because we're good looking. It's because the cash book is wide open and we'll buy anything up front for cash. And therefore wait for the title. When we get the title, frequently at this point, cars are coming back for no title. I hate it. Everybody hates it. Nobody's benefiting from it. Paying for the transportation both ways, getting it up the gazoo. Okay, but here's what happens. It happened actually with CarMax for the first time. We sell them thousands of cars. They're the last bidder. They buy it. They don't like it. I take it back. It's the same thing I do with any dealer. And then if you don't get the title, they never get back. They just recently started giving cars back. You know what the net result is? Identical car, 3 months later, now hits the auction block again and picks off 2 G's, up, not down. Okay, so in other words, the car went up 2 G's over what it brought in broad daylight in the middle of June. Okay, that's never occurred before either. But this is a story, in my estimation, that would be helpful, if I'm not mistaken, for a dealer that's peeing in his underwear because he's paying too much for a car, thinking about what a car used to be worth, gas in 1969. Does that make sense to you, Sean? Because it makes all the sense in the world to me. It really doesn't help anybody do anything other than the fact, possibly think about not necessarily peeing in your underwear because you bought a car at what you would have liked to buy it for a year or 2 years or 3 years ago. Not going to happen, Mo. A car is a 17-digit unit, is a commodity. And it fluctuates in value based on supply and demand. We happen to be in a marketplace that is completely void of supply. Therefore, demand is on cloud cuckoo land. That's I think, the horse manure story for today, Shawnee.
I love it. Thank you, Bob.
Did I put you to sleep, Sean? Did I put you to... No,
sir.
You're still there. Oh, okay. All right, my friend.
We all are. Keep her going.
Have fun, brother. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Dig.
Thanks for joining this week's episode of the Vindo Podcast. Visit us at Accu-Trade.com if you're looking for new acquisition strategies for your dealership.